A man inherits an abandoned car from his deceased father, but after refurbishing it, he discovers its true value. Jacob Smith was born and raised in a small rural town. He inherited from his father a car that was practically destroyed, which became a subject of mockery from his brothers. However, something remarkable happened in Jacob's life. His father, David Smith, a proud farmer, became wealthy through his own efforts, without external help and without inheriting anything from his family. Years ago, David purchased a barren piece of land in the southern part of the state, using what was left of his money. He built a fence around it and made the bold promise to turn those discredited acres into a thriving farm. While neighbors doubted David's sanity, he persisted. In 5 years, he not only made the land productive, but also turned it into a source of employment for hundreds of local residents. The Smiths, initially a poor and unknown family, reached a level of prominence in the region they had never imagined. David's farm became one of the main suppliers of products, not only to his own city, but also to other regions of the country. Surprisingly, the accumulated wealth did not alter David Smith's nature and character, who remained a friendly man full of hope. David deeply loved his 3 sons, Kevin, Alex, and Jacob. However, Jacob, the youngest, received special attention from his father. This preference caused jealousy among the older brothers, Kevin and Alex, who mocked Jacob, calling him a weakling and daddy's boy. The reason for the jealousy was Jacob's unique closeness with his father, who shared stories of his youth and the hardships overcome to make the farm a success. Jacob, influenced by these stories and the long conversations during car rides around the property, was the only one of the sons to express interest in attending college to better understand his father's business. While Kevin and Alex enjoyed the farm, they were more focused on spending the family business money on their own extravagances, without adequately preparing to take on the business responsibilities in the future. Aware that the world had changed and concerned about the future, David Smith called his lawyer, Simon Williams, to draft a will. The patriarch's goal was to ensure a dignified life for his sons, without the challenges he faced in his youth. With his health failing, David designated parts of his estate to each son. Kevin, the oldest son, would receive the farm with livestock, poultry, and lands for future cultivation. Alex, the middle son, would inherit the cultivated fields, agricultural equipment, the parents' house, and a gas station at the town's entrance. However, lawyer Simon Williams noted that Jacob, the youngest son, apparently would not receive anything beyond what had already been distributed to his brothers. Surprisingly, David decided to leave only one asset for Jacob, an old car filled with sentimental value, which was broken down in a farm shed. Jacob, who was passionate about cars, would face the challenge of repairing and revitalizing the vehicle. Simon, anticipating possible family conflicts, questioned the farmer's decision, but David reaffirmed his choice. Despite its unusual nature, Simon respected his client's wishes and formalized the division of the estate. 5 years later, the Smith family faced 2 bereavements, and the peculiarity of David's will generated uncertainties about the reasons behind his choices. The patriarch's intention remained shrouded in mystery, leaving Simon Williams intrigued about what David intended by distributing his assets in such a peculiar way. The life of the Smiths took a dark turn with the death of the mother, followed a year later by the demise of David, the patriarch. David's health worsened after losing his wife, and his sons, Kevin and Alex, eagerly awaited the inevitability of the inheritance. Jacob, however, believed in his father's recovery and, to take care of him in the final months, dropped out of college just 1 semester shy of graduation. After the burial, Simon Williams, the family lawyer, read the will. The reading revealed unpleasant surprises for Jacob. While Kevin and Alex received riches and properties, Jacob was left with an old and abandoned car. The joy of the brothers contrasted with Jacob's disillusionment, who felt hurt and out of place because of the will. Kevin's taunt about Jacob going back to college with a different car, but with a trailer attached, only intensified the youngest's discomfort. While the brothers planned to celebrate their inheritances, Jacob retreated to the shed, where the old paternal car was covered by a dusty tarp. He tried to start it without success. Alex appeared, mocking Jacob, reminding him of his imminent move and the old jalopy that was now his responsibility. With no choice, Jacob decided he could no longer endure the humiliations. He packed his things, called a taxi to a hotel in town, and arranged for a tow truck to take the old car with him. As he left the farm, he crossed paths with the family lawyer's car, deciding to stop and confront Simon Williams. Simon approached Jacob, expressing concern. "Were you driven away from the farm?" "I was afraid this might happen," said the lawyer. Jacob, disheartened, accepted Simon's apologies, still expecting to inherit another contraption from his father. However, the lawyer revealed that David left more than just the old car. There was also $50,000 and a handwritten letter. Upon opening the envelope in the hotel, Jacob discovered his father's instructions. David wanted Jacob to use the money to fix the car and then sell it at car shows in Dallas, and if necessary, in Houston. Initially confused, Jacob decided to follow his father's last wishes. In the weeks that followed, Jacob dedicated himself to revitalizing the car, despite doubts from Kevin and Alex, who suggested buying a newer vehicle. Jacob persisted. He remembered his father's wise words and was determined to fulfill his mission. After nearly a month of hard work, Jacob started the revitalized car. The sound of the engine brought satisfaction, and Jacob felt proud to have resurrected the vehicle. Now, he would face the journey to the car show in Dallas to try selling the car, honoring his father's instructions. Jacob drove to the car show in Dallas, as his father had suggested, only to discover that it was an event dedicated to vintage and rare cars. Faced with reluctant potential buyers who offered only $10,000 for the revitalized car, Jacob decided to go further and headed to Phoenix. The trip to the car show in Phoenix brought worries, given the age of the car and the fear that it might fail on a deserted road. However, upon arrival, Jacob realized that his vehicle sparked the interest of wealthy collectors. The car was praised as a true American thoroughbred and a treasure for those who knew the country's history. The auction of the car exceeded all expectations, reaching an incredible $5 million. Jacob could hardly believe that he was driving a real gold mine. With that amount, he bought a house, finished college, opened his own business, and built a stable life, including getting married and the birth of his daughter, Jennifer. Meanwhile, Kevin and Alex, unable to properly manage the family-inherited businesses, faced serious financial difficulties. Poor management led to layoffs, land sales, and bank loans. On the brink of bankruptcy, they received a purchase offer for all the Smiths' lands and businesses from the family lawyer, Simon Williams. The fate of the brothers hung by a thread, and Simon's intervention represented a possible salvation for the legacy built by David Smith. Kevin and Alex's decision to accept the offer to buy the farm marked the end of an era for the Smiths. However, Jacob surprised his brothers by revealing that he was the buyer. By taking over the property, Jacob expressed his love for his brothers and the hope that they would use the sale proceeds wisely. The Smiths' farm became the new home for Jacob, his wife, and Jennifer. Guided by the values transmitted by his father, Jacob continued to cultivate the land with dedication. The dirt roads now witness the constant presence of Jacob and his daughter Jennifer, whom he raises with the same care he received from his father. This twist in the story of the Smiths highlights the importance of legacy, overcoming, and familial love. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell to not miss any of our upcoming videos. Until the next story.